we're moving on to our next process in our value adding activity. That's going to be cross hatching a cone. So we're going to use the same shape and the same setup over here. So if you want to go ahead and get going with that now, please feel free. I'm going to set up my paper. If at any point you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I'm hopefully, if I don't see your question right away, please feel free to, you know, just give me a nudge, unmute, and tell me so. So we're making our cone, trying to make it as straight as possible. Remember, cones have a V shape or upside down V shape at the top, and then they have a cylinder bottom, right? That's important because it tells us how to draw our lines when we come across on our cone. So make sure you do that. I'm going to go ahead and put a table context in here as well, which is going to help our cone look a little bit more 3D. So I'm going to switch out for this. All right, we got our cone, and now we need to establish our light source. All right, using a pen as always. So here we go. Our light source is coming in from the top left as usual. This means our setup is going to be kind of the same as it always has been. If our light source is over here on the left-hand side, we know that our shadow is going to be over here, and we know it's going to be roughly in the shape of an elongated cone, right? So if you extended these out, you can't really see. If you extended these lines out, they would meet somewhere over here, maybe, and that would be kind of the shape of the cone, and that's kind of what I'm trying to get at with the shadow over here. But whatever kind of looks right to you. Not super worried about the shape of the shadow. So we're going to copy from the left side over here. We have a 0 edge all the way over here. We got a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a little sliver of 5 over here that's going to be hiding under the shadow, but the actual shadow is going to be a 6, as we know. We've done this before. The difference between hatching and cross hatching, right, is that hatching, all the lines are parallel, even if our lines are curved, to mimic the surface of the thing that we are drawing on, the object that we are drawing on. They're still parallel, right? For cross hatching, obviously, we're going to be including not only right parallel lines, but diagonal lines as well, lines that come across, and then lines that go vertical as well. And that's going to be a little bit different moving forward with this design. There's going to be some tweaks, some changes, so please keep your eye out for that. Might be a question coming at you later. So we're going to start, well, we're not going to start with 0 because there's nothing to do with 0. That's totally blank. So we're going to start with 1. Again, taking out our trusty piece of half paper or ruler, whatever you want to use. Just a reminder that when we are doing, we're kind of differentiating between each sliver of value. The top point of the cone is going to stay where it is, and we're going to slowly rotate, right, as we go around the object. So we're no longer moving across evenly, right, in a vertical manner. We're now pivoting around the point of our cone, right? And that's very important. It's as important as curving your lines around around a cylinder, which we established yesterday. The reason why we do that is to, further the illusion of adding value to this cone. So we have the 0. We don't need to worry about that. We're going to move on to 1, and 1 is going to be almost the exact same thing as we did yesterday. It's just we're going to start out the same way. So horizontal lines that curve around the surface of our object. So again, I'm going to get comfortable, and we're going to start adding in. So feel free to follow along with me, and let's get going. So first couple lines, following the base of my cone. Trying to keep things equally spaced. 1 second. And Eladia, we're doing our cross-hatching cone. So go ahead and get your paper out. You're going to have to catch up a little bit. So just to recap, we're starting the exact same way, right? We got a light source coming in from the top left. We drew a cone. We're adding value. So far, it's the exact same with hatching and cross hatching. But it's about to get crazy. Just kidding. So as you can see, we have a 0 slice over here. That is 0. It starts out about a finger wide, right? That's about the distance between the last line and the edge. And then up here, it gets significantly smaller, right? There's only a little tiny gap, sorry, little tiny gap in between um, the edge of the line and the edge of the shape, right? So that's kind of the triangle section that we're talking about over here. After we have step 1, right? So line number 1, we're good. We're gonna move on to line number 2. More in Geo, we are working on cross-hatching a cone. You didn't miss a whole lot. Actually, everything we've done already today is exactly the same as yesterday, but we're about to switch it up right now. So try to play a little catch up, not mustard, ketchup. Kadooch. Sorry. All right, we're going to move on. Enough with the funny jokes or not so funny jokes. So this is where our 1 was. Now we're going to pivot to here. So notice that the bottom of our paper is on the number 2. The top of our paper is right on the point of the cone. So the next direction I'm going to go is diagonal, but as we know, we can't just do straight old diagonal lines, right? We're going to have to bend them slightly, just like we did with the cylinder. So I'm going to add in those lines in between the lines that we already have. So I'm going to start up here. Yeah. And they're a little short at first, but please make sure that you're bending, right? In between. I guess as I'm doing this, they're kind of starting in the middle and they're ending on the lines. I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but that's how it's working right now, right? All right, check that out. Good one. Yeah, we'll leave that there for now. So that looks pretty accurate. We're increasing our value. So we have a number 1 value and we have a number 2 value. Looks good. We might come back in later and add in some more lines here if we think we need it. Remember, cross-hatching is one of those that you can't necessarily count every single line. You might have to go back in and add lines depending on how it looks, right? So we'll take a look at that when we're done. So moving on, step 3, or at least value 3, lining up the bottom of our paper with value 3 and the top of our paper with the cone. All right, we're going to go diagonal the other way. Okay. So, let's see. We're going to try to fit it in between each one of these lines, same way we always do, I guess. Well, that looks like it's a little hard. So we're just going to do our diagonal lines coming across. Try to get more of them more tightly packed together. Try to keep them parallel, going the same direction. I don't know how much I'm succeeding at it. We'll see. All right, looks like yeah, we got 3 different distinct values, or 4 now. 0, 1, 2, and 3. Looks good. And yeah, I didn't count those. I know we kind of tried to count the first 2, right, number of lines wise, but I just kind of went through and added what looked right to me. So I'm just decreasing the amount of spacing between each line. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. Just kind of use your eye and see if you need more or less. Who knows? And then last but not least, we're going with vertical lines, right? So we have horizontal, we have diagonal, we have other way diagonal. And then now we have to do vertical lines, but that's going to be a little bit different for this. So instead of straight up vertical lines, right, kind of like what I have here, obviously, right, we're going to use this 4 as a guider, but kind of referencing this area over here, vertical lines are going to be following this edge more or less, but it's they're going to pivot as well. So like when we draw these vertical lines, we're going to have lines. The first one's going to be here, then the second one, the third one, fourth one, fifth one. All right. So these lines are going to follow the same pattern as our individual sections. So do me a favor, pause, don't do it yet. I want you to watch how mine turns out and then try to make yours look the same way. So again, top is on 4, and I'm actually going to use this as a ruler and draw straight down. I'm going to move it over slightly. I'm going to do the same thing and use this as a ruler, essentially, a straight edge rather. And then just, yeah, just give me a minute, wait till I'm done so you can see what's going on here. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at for this number 4. See, I have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down here at the bottom, but they all converge into this top area over here, if that makes sense. So try to draw your lines so like that. I'll give you a few minutes, but remember all of these lines, all of the lines, even though they start equally spaced down here, they get tighter and closer as they come up to the top. So try to mimic that. It's tough. Tough thing to explain. Once you get it, it'll make sense. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Apologies if you're not ready. But the last step from here on out should be pretty familiar. That was the hardest one just now, for sure. So I'm going to go back to these diagonal lines. I'm going to repeat the diagonal lines to make my little 5 sliver over here. It's going to be very small. I just want to kind of give the indication of another shadow. And I'm not, yeah, I will. So just in an effort to make sure that everything looks right, I'm going to use this, my trusty piece of paper. Just give a little sliver, right? Again, this top section of my paper is right on the point of the cone. And then my bottom is right kind of even with the 5. And I'm going to be using straight diagonal lines, just like that. Okay. Because remember, because the lines are so short, it doesn't ruin the illusion. The only thing that ruins the illusion is long straight lines on a curved surface. That's really going to mess with your illusion. Also, because we're using lines that are diagonal and kind of going with the general curve of the shape, it's not going to hurt it so much. But by all means, if you want to curve each and every short line, feel free. I think it's unnecessary work, but if you would like to, that's all you. Just make sure we have a dark value over here, and we're good. All right, so that's kind of what we have our 5 distinct values, or 6, I guess. None over here, we got the 0. We have our 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I think it looks pretty okay. Just looking at this, I would say that there is a very even uh, progression between 3, 4, and 5, right? So if you cover up this, this looks pretty natural. It almost looks like, you know, exactly how I want it to look. However, when I add in this, it looks like there's a big jump between 2 and 3, in my opinion. So I'm going to go back in. So I'm just looking at this, kind of evaluating how it looks, and I'm going to go back in and add a few lines to my 2 section. So we're just replaying. And anytime you finish and you want to go back and add lines, you got to do it in a specific way, or at least I think it helps to do it in a specific way. So we are going to add lines in starting from 5 coming across. Okay, so again, every line that we draw is going to start in the darkest value and move over to the left here. So I'm just going to add in a few lines and see how it looks. Again, these are curved. We're doing these lines again. Curving the lines as we get shorter and shorter. See one that needs an additional. Why not? We're going to see how that looks. I think that's a little bit better. I don't know, although now 2 and 3 look super similar, so I might add more in the 3. So same thing, I'm going to add a few more lines to my 3 section, and let's just to refresh our memory, that's the diagonal coming this way. So I'm not going to go overboard, but I am going to add a few. And yeah, I think that works. That works for me. Not sure why that looks better. I'm not even sure if it looks different, but to my eye, so I'm going to compare between these two. And yeah, I think they look, if you blur your eyes, if you squint at them, I think they kind of look the same. They kind of have the same value. I guess this one's a little bit lighter total, but I don't know. There you go. So again, you're just kind of evaluating your work. It's kind of like a math problem. When you're done with the whole test, they want you to go back and check your work. So when you're done adding value to something, you always want to evaluate it and kind of see if there's somewhere you need to um, add value. You can't necessarily take it away, right? Because we're using pen, but you can adjust surrounding values to make your values look a little bit different. So for example, you saw it when we increased the amount of value on the 2 slice, we had to adjust the 3 to make it work, to make it look continuous. But by adding value to 2, we made 3 look lighter. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but that's why we had to go back in and add more to 3 as well. So crazy times. All right, how are we doing? All right, we got a ton of time left in class, which is good. I'm going to give you a few minutes to finish this up, and then I'm going to create an assignment so you can go ahead and hand this worksheet in. So go ahead, keep working on this. I'll leave it out so you can kind of see what we did. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat or just unmute and ask. But I'm going to create an assignment for you to hand this in right now. No, so I figure we keep it easy. So this is like this is what your worksheet looks like, right? You just take one photo, kind of like what I have now, and you just upload that to the slide deck. Yep. Dang, you guys can't let me know I forgot to do my shadow. Dang, rude.